But how about God? Do you think he's offended?
I think that God, from what I know, appreciates the rawness and realness of somebody's heart. What's up, Misfits? So I'm back here with my dad for another video. And this video is going to be a little different. This video he actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen the last two reaction videos that me and my dad have done, go and watch those. My dad wanted to do this because he noticed the language that was being used, and so he wanted to just talk about words.
Yeah.
Talk about, do words have power? Or don't they? Or what do they mean?
What do you think? Do you think words have power?
Well, I guess we're going to find out.
That's right.
So, or we're going to talk about it, or debate about it, or fight about it, or something's going to happen. So,
And we're not going to fight because I don't fight.
oh, well.
All right.
All right. So the last two videos that we reviewed obviously had a lot of swearing. Obviously, most people could see that as being real and raw. You see it differently. You see it being offensive. So what do you want to say towards that or about that with how they portray, how they're feeling, or their language or whatever?
Sure. Okay. Well, obviously I don't listen to songs that have that kind of language in, and so it was kind of startling for me, even though you'd said, hey, this is coming, and I waded through it, gave my opinion on perspective and so forth, but it got me thinking how the words that we use, I mean, are they just words? I mean, we've heard people say that, and that they're just words, nothing else.
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Exactly, yeah. But the fact is that, from my line of work, words actually are the beginning of creation. I mean, if you think about that. But before you actually make something, you think about it.
It's an idea.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
And then you usually tell somebody or you write it down on paper. So if you think about it, words are the origin of creation after you think about it. I don't think a lot of people give that thought. I mean, it might be deep, but that's a reality.
The words create something.
Mm-hmm. They start. That's the basis. That's how we were created to create.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin with a thought that really gets translated into words. And the book of Proverbs says that life and death is in the power of a word. So a lot of people think, well, maybe words are neutral. They don't have an effect upon people and things. But that's not my opinion. Like, for instance, if I would... if you were a little kid and you woke up and I just called you stupid for a month and maybe 3 times a day, what would you begin to believe about yourself?
Well, that gets into what you believe about your own self-worth and also who is telling you that.
Exactly. Yeah, but as a little kid, you wouldn't know what your self-worth is. I'm putting that on you.
Well, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, if you were my parent, which, I mean, you are, but
right.
So say it's in this situation, if you're my parent, yeah, I mean, I might grow up a little messed up in the head. But if it was, I don't think every kid that would happen. Like, I think, well, I don't know. I think most situations are different. I know I've met kids that seem really confident in who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean...
But why are they that way?
Well...
It's not because they were treated and trashed out every day. Somebody put something of value in them, or they learned something that they valued themselves to become confident. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
My cousin worked at it was a home for kids. And she said that there was one boy that they had that every day, I don't know how old the kid was. She told me the story. She said every day in this boy's home, before they got him, his father praised him every time he did something wrong. And every time he did something right, his dad would discipline him or treat him harshly. So his whole way of thinking of what's right and wrong was exactly backwards from every kid in the whole children's home.
Wow.
What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, you're right. Like, as a kid, we do get our value from somewhere, and whether that's, the culture we're in, the songs we listen to, whether that's our parents, whether that's somebody else,
Sure.
whether whatever. Yeah, I mean, we have to get our value from somewhere, and I mean, that's as kids. People, I think people would argue the fact that when we get older, we eventually have to find it ourselves in something.
Yeah, that's true. But, how many people that you know that are adults and they're still struggling with this kind of thing because they grew up in a prolonged period of time and
Struggling with worth?
Yeah, with worth because of words spoken to them.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay. Well, it just proves my point then. That even though they have other sources available that could override that, there's something that got established young that we're growing up, and it's kind of unless it gets absolutely taken out and replaced and worked on,
Yeah.
it's kind of who they are and kind of walk with a limp.
Okay. So, what's your next point?
Yeah, my point is that words they're the beginning of creation. So if you want to create something, it's going to involve words. It starts with a thought, brings into words. Sometimes we write them down, and then we begin to share that with people. And so I looked at this in depth for one period of time, and the thing that I noticed is the words you use change the atmosphere around where you're at. You ever thought about that? Like if somebody comes in angry,
Yeah.
using angry word, they'll change the atmosphere to tense and fearful and angry, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's one of those dudes that suck the energy out of the room, then yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And if somebody comes in happy and cheery and, hey, how y'all doing? And carefree and happy-go-lucky, well, they do. They change the atmosphere, don't they?
Yeah, they'll change the mood of the room.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So words can actually change the atmosphere of
But
the
those
room.
aren't. But that's not words. That's just how they're feeling.
Yeah, but they're voicing that through words.
Okay.
I mean, do you think a mime could come in and change the atmosphere?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
But most of us aren't moms. We're using words.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, the opposite. I mean, I study acting.
Okay.
Acting has nothing to do with the words you say. It's about your behavior.
True.
So you can just say the lines, but unless your body is speaking it, then the audience isn't going to know
Exactly.
really what you're saying.
Yeah, one is an extension of the other.
Yeah.
Definitely. I would agree
Okay.
with that.
So words are a track, if you
Right.
will, of or a means of communicating what you're feeling.
True. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, or what you believe, too.
Yeah.
And if you believe that your feelings are the only thing that count, then you're going to communicate your feelings. So, yeah, I mean, you might be in touch with your feelings, but you believe something before you feel it.
Okay. So, but does that mean that anger is bad? Does that mean that, being sad or depressed, on depression about my latest video, does that mean that's bad?
Well, this is my opinion, is that emotions or feelings are an option. They're
Okay.
an option presented to us. They aren't necessarily fact.
Sure. I mean, you can be, I guess, watching a movie and feel that raw realness in the acting or the movie, and a feeling can be expressed
Right.
by them, and then you
Right.
feel the same thing. And so then it gives birth to something, but it's not like a real thing. I
Right.
get that.
Yeah. Okay. So, since I could wake up and feel depressed too, but it's an option presented to me, and so I have to say, well, do I want to stay depressed to stay? Well, no, I don't. I don't choose to. I want to replace it with something higher.
So what happens when you what happens? You say it's an option,
Mm-hmm.
but what happens when you're like, okay, I'm always going to choose the other option. Like I'm sad or I'm grieving or I'm depressed or angry or whatever. I'm always going to choose the other option to be happy. Don't you think that could do harm more than good?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's situations if a loved one dies or something sudden happens. Obviously, a natural reaction is to be sad or to be angry because of an injustice, or to, obviously there's natural responses to circumstances. The question is, do we stay in that kind of state prolonged for several years? That's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's moments that we express what we should, that we're happy or we're sad or we're angry or we're mad.
Yeah.
I get that way.
Yeah.
but I don't choose to stay in that in a prolonged way.
Okay. So how would you know? We're kind of going off topic.
Yeah,
here.
how'd we get here?
No idea.
All right,
But
we may have to cut this out.
But I
man.
do think this might
Okay.
be important. Is that even if you have that prolonged feeling,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know when that cutoff point is?
That's a good question.
Like if you're sad or depressed, how do you know when that cutoff point is that you're like, okay, now I know today I need to get out of this sadness, or I need to get out of this grief, or I need to get out of this anger.
I think my thoughts is that when it's starting to affect your life in an adverse way, your health goes down, your productivity at work goes down, you don't want to be with friends, you want to cut off people that you normally associate with. So my question is, what was your routine before that happened? And obviously something happened that took you out of that routine. And if you stay in that down, depressed, gloom and doom state too prolonged, I think that when you realize, wait a minute, I haven't picked up my normal routine before this happened, then maybe I'm in it too long.
Gotcha. Okay. We could
Yeah.
say a whole lot more about that. But what this is about mainly, why people are watching this, is specifically, I know it's about the swear words.
Sure.
It's about, obviously in the Joyner Lucas video and then in Hobson,
Right.
there was a lot of swearing.
Exactly.
So that could be said to be raw and real and just straight up front.
Right.
Which that would be, I definitely lean more on that side. And to you, it's more offensive and just not necessary.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So really what I did is I investigated words, believe it or not. And because all words have intent to them.
Yeah, sure.
There's a spirit behind the words that you say. Mm-hmm. And so I investigated, I really put them into 4 categories. And the first category that I found is using words that are constructive. I mean, words that build up, that for a purpose of building someone up, encouraging them. It's a constructive type of word or assignment that you're using to be constructive. The second type of word I found, the intent is to be descriptive. Mm-hmm. You're describing something that is taking place or what someone did to you. That may be kind of raw. Like, for instance, I think of that Jesus, one of the political rulers, Herod, mm-hmm. he wanted to see Jesus. And Jesus' response to the people that said, Herod wants to see you, would be like the president wanting to see Jesus. You know what his response was? Go tell that fox.
Go tell that fox?
That's what he said. Go tell that fox. And you're like, wow. But I think that was descriptive of who Herod was.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
But what does that mean? Go tell that fox. Because in modern day,
right.
We're not in Jesus' time, so in modern day, go tell that fox. We're like, what?
Well,
what does the fox say?
A fox has an association with it, right?
Okay.
So what is the association with fox? They're sly, they're slippery. It's hard to see them. I think the same definition. I didn't really get that deep into it, but that's just my impression. That he knew that Herod really didn't want to see him, that he wanted to take pictures with him and maybe be in the media with him and so forth. Mm-hmm. And so he knew the intent, and so he used a descriptive term, go tell that fox.
Okay. I mean, and just from what I know, Jesus also said, don't call anyone a fool, and
right.
He did call people fools.
Yeah, true.
So that could even be said that the intent of the word is a lot more powerful than the word itself. Because obviously the context that Jesus was using when he said don't call people fools was a whole different, completely different context.
Right.
When he actually called them a fool.
Exactly. That's another point, that words have context.
Yeah.
We'll get to in a moment,
okay.
The context.
Okay.
So, again, you got constructive words, you've got descriptive words, and then the third category I found is words that are stumbling block words. And stumbling block words are things that are actually true, but you don't want to hear them.
Okay.
They're like, this is true, but you don't want to hear them.
Yeah, truth hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Example of stumbling block is like a victim mentality. Like somebody says, hey, the reason you're doing this is because of that. In reality, it may be, like, for instance, somebody has poor performance at work.
Yeah.
And that's the reason they're being let go.
It's like, it's the company's fault, company sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Yeah. And the reality is you're a bad worker.
Yeah, exactly. So then the fourth word is the one that we'll probably get to, and that is vulgar words. And what I discover about vulgar words is the intent of them is used to defame, to degrade, to just downgrade a person. I mean, just slash them. That's the whole intent of a vulgar word. And so, obviously these last two videos we looked at together were full of what I would consider vulgar words. Now, obviously you have a different perspective on that.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But yet I go back to the intent when people use words we consider vulgar.
Yeah.
And then we have to look at context.
Yeah.
Before we did this video, I was telling you about, like, the word bitch, bitch. Obviously most of the time that's used in a vulgar context.
Yeah.
But in reality, that has a context of a female dog.
Yep.
Or a fox, or different animals. That's the term that was used. And
that's
so,
the actual definition of it. Yeah.
Right. And so these two preachers were out golfing, and the one, he would make a bad golf shot, and the other would just keep hearing him say Hoover. And all through they played, like, they were in 12 holes, and every time he hit a bad shot, this preacher would say Hoover. And finally the other preacher asked him, said, why are you saying Hoover? He said, that's the biggest damn I can think of.
Oh, man.
So, it's all about context.
Yeah. So, how in the videos that we watched is there vulgar words out of context, or not a necessity to, because, I mean, it is art, it is music, so it is like them expressing themselves and them saying that actually this is how I feel, and I think a lot of other people feel this way, and so I want to be really real about this, because I feel like there's other artists that aren't being real about it, or the world isn't being real about it, and so, like, I need to say this for me and for them, the audience, and it is in context, and it is like because other people feel that way or speak that way. So,
well, again, it's a matter of perspective. If you say that people need to express themselves that way, personally, I felt like that a lot of the vulgar words on these last two videos were just filler words. It's like they were doing rap and they didn't know what else to say, and so they used that word. And so that's how I see the thing. Maybe there was a context for one or two, which I wouldn't use, but they would choose to. But it felt like it was just every time they didn't know what else to say, they used a vulgar word. That's my take.
But I mean, with, like, have you ever stubbed your toe or hit something on something, and I mean, you might not say a swear word, but you would, like, yell or
Sure.
say something,
Yeah, I get it.
So I don't know if they were using that as just filler words, because I watched interview videos and stuff, and he doesn't talk like that.
Right.
Like, he definitely doesn't talk
Yeah.
like that all the time, and I don't think Jordan Lucas does either.
I've met people that do.
Yeah, no, I worked in a factory.
Yeah.
With that feeling of, like, anger and just, like, frustration, and also, like, almost like desperation sort of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how like, normally when people would feel that way, they would use that sort of language. And so I don't know if, sure, it might be the rap culture of things, or it just might be the actual feeling of the song. But I do think that the song would have communicated something a whole lot different if those words wouldn't have been in there.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they necessary? No. Did they communicate something? Sure, because all words do. I mean, that's my point. Words
Yeah.
create. They change the atmosphere. They that's what they chose to use. And I personally look at it from the standpoint. I always look at things generationally. That's kind of how I look at things. And so I'm thinking about somebody's kids watching it, or somebody else. I'm not really thinking of the intended audience. I'm thinking of all those that will stumble across it and,
Yeah.
maybe be affected by it in a wrong way. Or that's just my bent. I know
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's
that's
bent that way, but that's me.
I mean, that's why I don't swear in my videos. It's because,
Right.
I'm narrowing my audience.
Sure.
To the people who that is
Yeah.
offensive to. Like, I don't
Right.
swear around you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I, respect you, and you're my dad, and you're a pastor, and,
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And so, especially to, like, my mentors and elders and stuff, like, no, I'm not going to
Yeah.
not going to do that. But in a different context, like around my friends and stuff, people that are okay with it, then it flies.
Right.
It's totally.
But how about God? Do you think he's offended?
Well, I've definitely sworn at God before, and he seems to be fine. So, no,
You
but
like to think so.
okay. Well, I think that God, from what I know, appreciates the rawness and realness of somebody's heart. Because I think that's what it comes down to. I think what it comes down to is, what does the heart say, rather than what the words say. Yes, I totally agree with you with, words create something. You can change, the room and how you bring yourself in it and the words that you use and stuff. But I definitely think that, there's a difference between me saying, like, I fucking hate you versus I fucking love you. Like, there's a complete, like...
Yeah, true. I mean, I see the intent, or the different...
Yeah. So, the intent, depending on who you're saying it to. Because if I said that to you, you'd be like...
Right.
You wouldn't be happy at all.
Right.
You wouldn't feel loved if I said
No.
that to you. At all.
Right.
So, it's completely in context, but it's even my heart in the matter. I mean, not that I don't even think my heart would be in the right place if I said that to you at all.
Right. Well, my question is, Jesus said the heart's deceitful above all things. What do you do about that one?
I think that you have to. I don't think you can get. I don't think you can get anywhere emotionally or spiritually if you're not at some point real with the way that you're feeling.
True.
Because yeah.
Okay. I give you a point. Or otherwise, you're just going to become lukewarm.
Yeah, no, you're just going to be lukewarm, and
Right.
you're just going to seem like a bunch of robots.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Which a lot of Christians I meet, it's just like robots.
Gotcha.
So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think you have to be real with yourself.
Right.
And I do think you have to be real with the way that you're feeling. But I mean, if you come to a point where, because this could go off into a whole nother direction about even like your own personal conviction.
Right.
Because it has to do with your conscience too.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with, like, if I feel bad about saying those words, then why would I say them?
Right.
Like, even if all my friends say them, why would I say them?
Right.
If I'm not okay with it.
Right.
So it's
but that's the amazing empowerment that you have coming within you that not a lot of people have, because they just join in with what the crowd's doing. But you've got an internal gauge that says, even though the crowd's doing this, I don't need to.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. I tell you what.
I mean, but that's a point of this YouTube channel. Just
Yeah.
do you.
Yeah.
If you've seen my other videos, it's about loving yourself.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
about doing you, man.
It's good.
So that's important. So
how do we wrap this up?
I was just about to say, I think that's a pretty good way to wrap it up.
Okay.
So, what do you misfits think about this?
You fit someplace. You might be a
You
misfit,
do.
but you fit someplace.
But the misfits have their place. That's the point. Hey, that's the.
So
that's the point.
is that a descriptive word or a constructive word or a stumbling block or a vulgar word? A misfit.
All of it. All of it. No, but what do you guys think? Do you side with, my dad? Do you side with me? Do you not have a side? Do you agree with either of what we've said? And I think the biggest point in all of this is that me and my dad both have different views. We're similar on a lot of stuff, but different at the same time. And look, we're still having a civil conversation about it. So,
oh man, I love him. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah,
I love him too. So yeah, let us know what you think. Guess that's it.
That's it?
Yep.
What's the last thing? Go for it.
Peace. There it is.